They teased her about playing the violin, but when she actually did, the whole room went silent. They didn't even try to hide it. It was the fifth period, last row by the window. That's where Nia Forrester always sat. Same spot, same quiet. Her worn-out violin case rested between her knees like it was fragile, like it could break at any moment. She rarely looked up, and when she did, it was only when her name was called. Even then, her voice was barely more than a whisper, just another quiet kid trying to stay unnoticed. But that day, everything changed, and not in the way anyone thought. Mr. Buckley, the PE teacher, who somehow was in charge of the school's upcoming talent show, made an announcement. He called out, "All right, folks, we've got spots open. Singers, dancers, magicians, whatever you've got, bring it on." His voice was casual, like he wasn't even sure why he was making the announcement. Then, Miss Dorsey, the math teacher who always wore the same beige sweater and acted like she was in charge, nudged Mr. Buckley and nodded toward Naya's seat. "What about our little violinist over there?" she said, loud enough for half the class to hear. Mr. Buckley chuckled and said, "Yeah," but Nia knew what it really was. A dare, not encouragement, not respect, just a joke. They assumed she wouldn't understand it, or worse, wouldn't care. Her fingers gripped the neck of her violin case tighter. She didn't look up, not yet. Ahead of her, a boy whispered something about cat screeches. Someone else mimicked a screeching violin sound. It spread like spilled paint, messy, fast, and impossible to clean up. Miss Dorsey smiled like she had done something sweet. "Just teasing, sweetheart," she added, brushing it off like it didn't matter. That was when Nia finally looked up. Not at the teachers, not at the kids, just past them. "I'll do it," she said, calm as if she were ordering food at a drive-thru. The room went dead silent. Even Mr. Buckley blinked in surprise. "You serious?" he asked. Nia didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. She just placed the violin case on her desk and started filling out the sign-up sheet that was being passed around. No drama, no eye contact. Just her name, Nia Forrester, on the line. Miss Dorsey laughed again, but this time it was softer. "Well, that's the spirit, I guess." But behind her smile, there was something else. Doubt, maybe discomfort. She hadn't expected Nia to say yes. She expected her to shrink. The rest of the day moved on like usual. Bell rings, lockers slam, sneakers squeak across the halls. But something had shifted quietly beneath the surface. Because here's the thing, they didn't know who Nia really was. Not really. They saw a quiet black girl who barely spoke, carrying around a violin like she was trying too hard to be different. They didn't know about the third-floor apartment she shared with her mom and little brother, or how she practiced with a towel stuffed under the door so the neighbors wouldn't bang on the wall. They didn't know that the violin wasn't just a hobby. It was the one thing she had that truly felt like hers. And now they were all about to see it. But just because she had said yes didn't mean she wasn't scared. Her name wasn't the kind people remembered right away. Nia Forrester didn't stand out in the hallways of Toledo Central Middle School. She wasn't loud. She didn't hang out by the vending machines. She didn't snap back when kids made rude comments. She just kept walking, her violin case always in hand, her shoulders a little tight, like she had learned to take up less space than she deserved. But if you followed her home, if you walked the 4 blocks from school, crossed under the faded mural near Collingwood Boulevard, and climbed the crooked stairs to apartment 3C, you'd see the real Nia. Not the girl who barely spoke in class, but the girl who lived inside a storm of sound. The violin case clicked open as soon as the front door shut behind her. No snack, no TV, just her music, and the peeling walls in her shared bedroom. Her mom's voice echoed faintly from the kitchen. "You eat anything yet?" "Not hungry." "You should eat. Don't make me come in there." Nia smiled just a little. Her mom always said that, but she never came in, not when Nia was practicing. Her mom, Monica Forrester, worked nights cleaning offices downtown. She left around 6:30 every evening, right after dinner, and didn't get home until just before dawn. Nia knew her mom was tired, but she also knew that her mom listened from the other side of the wall every night. That was the rule. No speakers, no headphones, just raw sound. If Nia was off pitch, if her rhythm broke, her mom would tap gently on the wall 3 times. That meant start over. No anger, no shame, just a quiet reminder to do it again. Most nights Nia practiced until her fingertips went numb. Her violin wasn't fancy. It had scratches from old hands, a loose peg that needed tightening every few minutes, and a bow that frayed at the edges like an old shoelace. But when she played it, it sang. It cried. It screamed. It whispered. It was the only way Naya knew how to speak out loud. She had started learning at age 7. Her grandfather, who passed away when she was 9, had played the blues on a beat-up fiddle. She remembered his laugh, the way his fingers moved like they were dancing, and how he always said, "Let the instrument tell your truth when you can't." So she did. At school, kids rolled their eyes when she pulled out her violin during lunch period. Teachers smiled politely but never asked about it. Not until the joke. Not until Mr. Buckley and Miss Dorsey turned her whole year into a punchline. But Nia had already been working on something, a piece she had written herself. Half classical, half blues, all pain. It had no name. She didn't think it needed one. What it had was feeling, grit, soul, and a secret that only she and her violin understood. Because behind that quiet, behind the tired hoodie and worn sneakers, Nia Forrester was a storm. And for the first time, she wasn't going to hold it in. But wanting to prove something was one thing. Actually standing in front of the whole school and why is my daughter being detained? The shift was immediate. The officer hesitated, glancing at the woman. Her confidence flickered. "This is a routine check," the officer muttered. "No," her father countered. "This is profiling." Jada had done nothing wrong. The officer inhaled sharply, his chest rising as though he had run a great distance. His fingers twitched, hovering over his notepad as if preparing to jot something down. But before he could utter a single word, Jada's father stepped forward, his voice steady, unyielding. "If you continue to delay her flight, I will escalate this matter. And believe me, I know exactly who to call." A surge of gratitude swelled in Jada's chest, momentarily easing the tightness that had formed there. She had always known her father to be a man who never backed down, someone who could navigate the most difficult situations with a sharp mind and unwavering conviction. She had seen him handle conflicts before, but this time it felt different. This time he was standing up for her, not just as his daughter, but as a person who had been unfairly singled out for nothing more than existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was not a mere misunderstanding. This was something far greater. The officer's shoulders sagged, his authority visibly slipping. For a fleeting moment, Jada thought he might retreat altogether. The woman beside him, once brimming with silent confidence, now looked as though she wished she could disappear. Her gaze flickered anxiously between Jada's father and the officer, searching for an escape from the mounting confrontation. The moment stretched unbearably long until at last the officer released a weary sigh. "All right, Miss Holloway," he murmured. "I apologize for the inconvenience. We just need to verify your booking, and you'll be free to go." Jada's father gave a sharp nod. "Good, I appreciate your cooperation." As the officer turned to his radio, relaying something to another unseen figure, Jada's father glanced at her with a reassuring look. She wanted to smile to let him know she was okay, but her heart still pounded violently against her ribs. The sheer absurdity of it all left her breathless. It was more than just frustration. This was humiliation. This was anger. This was fear. Jada's skin burned under the weight of countless stares from the surrounding passengers. Some had already returned to their phones or newspapers, uninterested in the drama unfolding before them. But others continued to watch, their curiosity blatant, their silence deafening. It made her stomach twist. The woman beside the officer, her voice taut, finally spoke. "We're not detaining you, Miss Holloway. This is simply a routine check." Jada's father turned to her, his expression darkening. "Don't insult me." His voice cut through the air like a blade, sharp and unwavering. "You pulled my daughter out of line. You questioned her in front of a crowd. You made her feel like a criminal when she's done absolutely nothing wrong. Don't stand there and pretend this is routine." The woman's lips pressed into a tight, pale line. Her hands clenched at the edges of her uniform, her grip so tense it seemed she was holding on to the last shred of authority she still possessed. Her eyes darted toward the officer beside her, wordlessly begging for guidance. But the officer said nothing. The balance of power had shifted. "My daughter is a minor," Jada's father continued, his voice unwavering. "She's traveling to see family. She has the correct identification. You've reviewed everything. So tell me, exactly what are you still verifying?" Jada's pulse quickened. Her father's words struck like thunder, reverberating through her very core. He had voiced the truth she had known deep down, but hadn't dared to say aloud. This wasn't about security. This wasn't about procedure. This was about how she looked, about the assumptions they had made the moment they laid eyes on her. "I don't appreciate being treated like a suspect for no reason," Jada finally said, her voice shaking. Anger, indignation, exhaustion, all of it tangled in her throat. Her father turned to her, his eyes softening for the briefest moment. He had always been a pillar of strength, but now seeing her stand in the eye of the storm, his pride shone through the cracks of his frustration. Silence stretched once more, thick and suffocating. The officer hesitated, his eyes flickering to his partner, waiting for her to take charge. But she said nothing. She had nothing to say. "I want your names," Jada's father demanded. "Both of you." The woman hesitated, then sighed. "Officer Daniel Rhodes," she mumbled. "Rebecca Langley." "Good," he said, his voice steely. "Now I expect a full report on this incident. I want to know exactly why my daughter was flagged, and who authorized this nonsense." Rhodes shifted uncomfortably. His eyes darted sideways, searching for an exit. But there was none. He had already lost control of the situation. Langley's expression had drained of all certainty. She swallowed hard. "You'll have the report," she muttered. "It'll be processed." "That's not enough," Jada's father snapped. "I want it escalated. You made a mistake today, and I won't let it slide. You have 1 hour. If I don't receive that report, I promise you, every person with authority in this building will know exactly what happened here today." The air grew unbearably heavy, pressing down on Jada's chest. The weight of what had just happened settled deep in her bones, leaving her shaken, exhausted. But more than that, she was angry, not just for herself, but for everyone who had ever been made to feel this way. Small, powerless, like a problem that needed to be solved. Langley's shoulders sagged, her confidence completely stripped away. She gave a tight nod. "I'll send the report," she whispered. Jada's father turned to her, placing a warm hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" She nodded slowly, though her heart still hammered in her chest. "I'm fine. Just tired." The officers stood stiffly, their discomfort evident. Jada glanced at them one last time, locking eyes with Langley for a brief second before the woman looked away. It was over, for now. Her father guided her away from the security area, leading her toward her gate. The airport noise returned, filling the void where the confrontation had been. And yet the world felt different now, too vast, too open, too indifferent to what had just transpired. As they neared the boarding area, her father glanced at her with a small, knowing smile. Your mother would have handled that differently, he mused, his voice light but weighted with meaning. Giada managed a small smile in return. I know. He squeezed her shoulder gently. I'm proud of you. You kept your composure. That's not easy. She didn't feel proud, not yet. Maybe one day, but today all she felt was exhaustion. She took her seat by the window, watching the planes outside, their engines roaring to life. Her phone buzzed. A message from her cousin Malik. Yo, you good? You still flying or what? She stared at the words for a moment before typing back. Yeah, boarding now. As the plane took off, she knew this wasn't over. Not for her, not for anyone else who had ever been treated like this. But she also knew one thing for sure. Next time, they would think twice before assuming the worst about someone like her. Her father's text popped up just before she closed her eyes. Call me when you land. She smiled softly. I will, love you.